Hi, guys. This is the Work Your Money podcast with your host, Michelle Wong, and
Willie Morales.
we discuss all of the trends and real estate market. And today we're going to have a little bit of a difference of topic. We're going to steer off from having a guest on our show. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to just start talking about the real estate market, the trends, what's going on in business. And the highlight of the show is going to be business partnership, the ups and downs.
Bad ones too.
We're going to go with part two. We did have an episode a while ago where we were discussing that. We're just going to kind of revamp that and basically talk a little bit more in detail of our experiences. So here we go. Part one, which is going to be the real estate market and trends and what's going on in business. Willie, what is the latest thing that you've heard this far?
Well, I think more and more people, I won't say here in New York, but in most other states like Philly, Pittsburgh, let's say Chicago, San Antonio, a lot more investors are looking into the creative financing way to get into real estate. Instead of trying to deal with the banks, they're trying to deal with the owner. Especially if the owner has the property for, 60, 90, 120 days on the market, they tend to pretty much be desperate and they start lowering their prices by a couple of $1,000 here and there. And that's where we could come in and say, hey, we'll give you full price. Just give us the terms. Just say, we'll give you $100,000. We'll pay you $500 a month for 10, 20, 30 years. And then we turn around and then sell the finances to someone else, pretty much for the same terms, but a higher payment. Instead of $500, maybe $1,000, and we could cash flow $400 or $500 a month. So the trend is going towards creative financing.
Okay. So basically for our listeners out there, that's basically what he's referring to as wholesale. So basically what we do is we approach an owner that is in possibly a financial situation, or they have some type of situation that they have to leave their property behind. And we approach them, we speak to them, we try to find a reasonable solution, an option for them. And
exactly.
Then basically from there, if they're comfortable with it, then we go and pursue it. We put it on contract. And while we put it on contract, we in turn look for a buyer or investor.
Right. If not an investor, but at least a long-term buyer that'll live in it. But they're in charge of all the repairs. They're in charge of everything. We're the bank. And that's the key thing. We are the bank. The tenant buyer or the buyer, everything's on them. Taxes, insurance, paying us, maintenance, they're in charge. We're pretty much just collecting the money and that's it.
Okay.
So
So that's basically the definition of what wholesale is. But it is trending. There's a lot of creative finance now. And due to the fact that the reason why this is being done lately is that the traditional sense of getting a mortgage or looking for a loan, that's a little bit more difficult to do as to if you do creative financing, you get the owner to be on board to do it. It's an easier transition. The transaction goes a little bit quicker. And the other thing too is that on a traditional sense with real estate, most people, they go and they get a real estate agent. I'm a real estate agent, so I see how that goes. And they put up a contract with the owner that they're going to put it on the market. They put a price point for them, and then they try to get potential buyers to come in and make a purchase on the home. And that's a little bit difficult nowadays because sometimes the owner gets very sentimental with their property. They think that the value should be a certain amount when the value is really according to comparing the market within the area and comparing the properties in the area, making a determination, getting an average of what what the price would be. So sometimes there's discrepancy there, and some agents, just to appease the owner, they'll go and put it at that price instead of trying to let them know and advise them that sometimes what you're looking for is not exactly what you're going to get. So sometimes that tends to happen. It can also be the area that they're in. Maybe again, it might have to do with the pricing. It might have to be with the aesthetics, what the repairs might be. Some people might see it's too overwhelming, so that gets dismissed as well. So we come in, we give them other options for them to just basically see that we can work something out with them and get everything closed a little bit sooner than later.
And it's funny that you say that, because a friend of mine is working with a bank in Queens, and my God, the paperwork that she has to go through to get this loan. I mean, they ask her for W-2s, income statements, blah, 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 blah. And it's been probably 3 to 6 months that this is still going on. Finally, they got a closing date. I mean, they wanted appraisals. They wanted inspections. The lady's husband is retired, so they wanted to see if he can afford it. I mean, I felt so bad. She was so upset in a way that she has to go through this. So when I saw that, I said to myself, we have to be the bank and make it easier. But now, ladies and gentlemen, it's not like we're going to originate the mortgage ourselves. No, we're going to get they call it a residential mortgage loan officer. So they're going to do the checking to make sure that these people could pay. They can afford the rent. They can afford the monthly payments, everything. We don't do none of that. And once it's cleared, obviously they call it the RMLO guys. They'll get their commission, and then boom, we'll get the buyer in there, and then also we'll have a loan servicing company to collect the payments. They get a little bit of a fee. I think it runs between $30 and $50 per month for the fee to collect the rents, and pretty much all we do is just get the checks. But I think that's why more and more people, even owners, are deciding to go the owner financing route. Not all of them, but at least if you have a number, it might be 20 to 30%.
Yeah, because they see it's less of a headache.
It's less of a headache,
It's less paperwork that you have to submit, and the transaction is just between, you being kind of like the middle person, per se, between
exactly.
The owner and the buyer, and then the buyer takes over and they abide by whatever the contract is. So it's more straightforward. And then let's talk about a little bit of what's going on nationally in regards to real estate. We had a discussion a little bit a while ago. And basically, we were just talking about the real estate market overall in different states. Some places are a little bit more active. Some places are, I wouldn't say plummeting, but it's kind of regressing a little.
Slowing down a little bit?
Yeah. So I guess, let's say here in New York, obviously New York is still trending.
That's a different animal, New York City,
trending,
man.
And for a lot of investors, unless you have a hedge fund, or you have a group of people that have a lot of equity to be able to go and make purchases here in New York. New York is very expensive if you're trying to invest. Most people seek out of state. One of the closest here on the eastern side of the U.S. would be New Jersey. There's certain areas in New Jersey that I see that is trending. Newark is one of them. People say, "Hey, Newark, I don't want to go to Newark."
Yeah, you got to bring that's partly because they think it's a war zone, but there's some parts of Newark
that are reasonable.
Yeah, there's some areas that are pretty good.
And there are some private companies that are now investing in Newark because it's a little bit cheaper than being in New York. So that's one of the things on the commercial end. Now, if you go to certain areas, Trenton, I've heard a lot of people are looking into Trenton or the southern part of New Jersey, and they're doing investments there. They're doing some type of development, more on the residential side. Then you have Philly. Philly has been booming for, I would say, the past 5 or 6 years now.
Yeah, I mean, more people are moving into the city than moving out. So that's a good trend. You always want people to move into the city. You know, another market that I've heard is San Antonio, Texas.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that market is booming. You have tons of investors, and a lot of investors that I shouldn't say that I know, but I've heard of, are doing the owner financing strategy in San Antonio, Texas.
Okay.
I think Pittsburgh's another one.
Yeah, Pittsburgh is starting to pick up. Pittsburgh, I would say in the past 2 years, Pittsburgh is starting to pick up. The thing is that Pittsburgh, there's a lot of properties that are abandoned, and it's because of the market.
Remember, we talked about Baltimore. That's another one.
Baltimore is another one.
There's a lot of.
There's a lot of row houses that
and the mayor, was it the mayor? Remember, you had mentioned that a while ago. I think it was the mayor or someone like a higher up in Baltimore was looking for investors to buy blocks of houses to remodel them and then I guess sell it as.
See, what happened was that because of the whole recession in 2008, or even a little bit before that, it started to the market started to plummet in Baltimore, and due to the fact that there were certain areas that were starting to get infested with, and I'm not knocking anything, but when there's poverty in certain areas, then you have war zones, drug areas and things like that.
Yeah.
So people started to leave that area in Baltimore. And now you have all these row houses, and there's nothing to be able to be done with it. So basically, what happened was the mayor and some of the city officials, they got together and they decided to try to look for partners, mainly investors that are looking to invest. And what they would do is that they would propose a package. So row houses, let's say that if you get one section of a row house, it would be $5,000. Philly had that same.
Yeah, but in Baltimore, you had to buy. What is it? I can't remember the number. Was it like a minimum of 5 houses or 7, 10? I can't remember the number. What it was.
It was a portion of row houses. It would be 3 to 5 to 7 row houses. This is just an example. $5,000 would be like the minimum. But what they would do is they would give you a package. So you would have to give a proposal as to what you would do to turn that around so that it benefits the people there in Baltimore, as well as, you getting some type of compensation for it. Obviously, you want to make some type of money. But they were looking to see who genuinely wanted to help out the city by trying to gentrify everything and just do reconstruction in the whole area. So there were some people in various places, New York and other areas, that are developers and builders, and they got together and they were sending in their proposal. Now, it's not just the group themselves, they're individuals too. It could be mom and pop companies that are also coming in and doing the same thing. So basically, they have package deals. They had, various row houses. You can get like a whole block, and you can get it for like maybe 30,000, 40,000. Or if you wanted a whole section, you can get it for 100,000. And then the perk about it is that the city was willing to help fund for the repairs as well. So if you were really serious of coming in and helping out the community, they would in return help you with some type of funding for you to be able to do the repairs and be able to obtain it and make the purchase and do that.
It's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
So we were looking into that, but, we decided we wanted to do Philly first, maybe Virginia, maybe down the road, and who knows, maybe a year from now or 2 years from now, Baltimore might be a thriving city. But it's like what Michelle said. They were willing to help build these properties back
it's
up.
It's still ongoing.
You know?
It's still ongoing.
I mean, that's like the perfect scenario for a owner finance, a rent to own, or just owner finance, where you carry the note for 10, 15 years and let the tenant, pay it off.
And,
that was perfect.
Yeah, and it's still ongoing. That program is still ongoing. I don't know how long this program is going to be. It's probably going to be for the next few years because they're trying to completely turn around the city and make it more, I guess, more livable.
Yeah, livable, have more tourists there. I mean, it's pretty much, listen, you just want to have a good city to live in. And you don't want to have buildings that are abandoned. And like parts of Philly, you'll see in certain areas, there's one building up, let's say, with tenants, and then like 3 or 4 buildings around them are abandoned and boarded up. It just doesn't look good. That's when you start getting the crime and the squatters. You don't want that. So, but hey, listen, for your investors out there looking in Baltimore.
Yeah, well, you have Baltimore. Then if you keep going down south,
just don't go to Philly. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, just stay out of Philly. That's us. I don't want to be a hater, but no. But Pittsburgh's a good one.
Yeah.
Like you said, parts of Jersey.
Yeah, you have parts.
I mean, you got to
Jersey.
deal with the high taxes, so you got to make sure you run your numbers correctly.
Yeah. And then if you go down south, you have places like Georgia. There's still some areas of Georgia that you can invest in as well. There's a lot of and it has been in development. The Atlanta area is one. What's the other one? Athens.
Was it Athens?
See, I'm not familiar with Georgia, but I always hear.
It might have been. I'm not 100% sure. I know a friend of mine. We had her on the show. Her name is Sonia, and she was in Georgia. But I'm trying to remember what part of Georgia she was in. But yeah, I mean that's a good area. Virginia's good. Parts of Virginia.
Yeah, you have Virginia. You have Norfolk.
Norfolk, yeah. And what was the other one? Virginia Beach. I wanted to get into the Deltona market. I was looking at a report. I think it was Realty Track. I can't remember what it was. And now Deltona is like in the top 10 for, appreciation. And the prices are just, they keep going up and up. And I'm like, I should have got in like 3, 4, 5 years ago. But there's a lot of properties there for sale. I have a couple of friends down there. They're like my property scouts, so they'll send me properties that are available, but the prices just keep going up. Those are the, you can't, I mean, you talk about houses now that are 115, 30, 140, 150,000. That market, I think we're just have to stay away from it. Just appreciating too much.
Yeah, well, if in Florida they have various areas. You have Jacksonville, you have Orlando. Orlando has a lot of land that you can develop.
Orlando's good, yeah.
And I know that Miami, forget it. Miami, you can't even touch.
Because, mini New York, right?
Yeah. Well, there's certain areas of Miami that you can still invest and you can still make a profit. But Miami is becoming like Brooklyn. It's become saturated in a sense. There's a lot of high rises, condos and stuff like that. It's a beautiful area, and that market is very hot right now. But again, if you have the money to be able to get into the heart of Miami, then go for it. If not, then you might have to go in areas that are around the middle of Miami where it's a hot spot.
No, exactly.
And then now if you go into the center of the U.S., you have Texas, you have Alabama, you have what else? You have areas like Arizona.
Arizona's a good market, and that's a hot market.
Yeah, and Arizona is now an area for people that want to retire and they want to go to a reasonable area. The climate is hot and it's dry, but you can get a lot of bang for your buck. These are for like people that want to either invest or if they want to live there, Arizona, I've always heard that it's a great place to be able to retire, and you can
Yeah, it's probably affordable compared to New York, San Francisco, LA.
You can get a house down there for like maybe 200, about maybe 300,000 for like 3 or 4 bedrooms, and you get everything.
You can move to Detroit and get the same thing for like $6,000.
You know what? Now that you're talking about Detroit, people are knocking Detroit. It's like, oh no, why would I go to Detroit? But the thing is that people have to realize that you have to be a trendsetter when you're going into investing. Sometimes you have to look outside the box and say, hey, you know what? Let me see if I can go. But you have to do your research. You have to look at your resource. You have to go through your resources and do a lot of research and make sure that it's something worthwhile. But some people feel a little iffy about Detroit because Detroit is completely dead. Yes, to a certain extent, and no to a certain extent, because Detroit, right now, there are a few major companies, corporations that are looking to plant their, I would say, flagship, their office, or whatever you want to call it, in Detroit. And Detroit has a lot of potential. If you get a couple of really good people that can see the vision and they can see outside the box and invest there, that can turn everything around.
Well, if I remember correctly, the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers, I think, moved their headquarters there, Quicken Loans. Mm-hmm. I think that's still in business. I should have done my research, but I know, I think his name is Dan Gilbert. Again, he's the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I think they moved their offices there to try to revive that city.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. And some people are going to have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with our new president, Donald Trump. But Donald Trump, that was what he was doing originally. What he would do is that he would scope out certain areas, and he would invest in areas before anybody else would invest in those areas. And for some people, they thought he was a little crazy of going and investing. And he wouldn't invest his money per se. What he would do is that he would go and get other people that had the money, gave the proposal due to the fact that he has, the Trump name behind him. And they would go and they would invest in that particular area, and then they would do development.
And he did that. He did that. If you look at, I think it's called The Art of the Deal. In that book, he talks about Cincinnati. He said he saw it in a newspaper. I think it was I don't know how many units it was, but if you get the book, he talks about it. He was in Cincinnati. They redeveloped the building, put new shutters, increased the rent, and then I think within a couple of years they moved out. So that's a good area at the time. Someone like that to go into and just he redeveloped the whole complex, and boom, made his money and got out and did something else, especially in New York City. Look, he got the Trump Tower and all those other buildings.
That's because it goes by the example of his father. Like, his father was in development,
Queens, right?
Yeah, he was in Queens, and he basically started doing the affordable homes and things like that. And he built an empire from that. So that left that legacy. Here you have Donald Trump with business, and he basically took the vision and said, okay, you know what, let me go into these particular areas. And you know what, there's no competition because you're the first one. You're a trailblazer.
You got to take the chance. Yeah, some of these guys take the chance. And
he was very smart about it.
Yeah, he was.
He went in. He invested in those areas. He started developing, and what happens? Other people start coming in and doing and following his lead.
But what's funny with Trump? If you read in the book, he wanted to go into Manhattan, and his father didn't want to do it. Trump saw something here in the city, and I think his first project was the Grand Hyatt Hotel. It was, I think, back in the 70s and 80s. I think it was called the Commodore. I can't remember, but he changed it. And boom, and he partnered with the Grand Hyatt. Again, for books, and Michelle knows I like to recommend books. That's one book to get, is The Art of the Deal, because he explains some of the trends, he saw back in the 70s.
Yeah, but you know what?
I don't want to talk about Trump anymore.
Yeah, let's not turn it into a political thing.
Yeah,
but,
exactly. There goes the real estate report.
And one last thing, we have a couple of minutes to, but on the West Coast, you have places like California, and we mentioned Nevada, Las Vegas. There's a lot of things going on right now with development, mostly outside of the Strip, between 5-10 mile radius outside of the Strip. Residential and commercial development is going on. Now, back in the recession of 2008, it started to dwindle down and became like a ghost town because nobody really wanted to invest.
Nobody had the money.
Nobody had the money. Things were really bad. But then as things started to pick up again with the market, now we're at the peak where there's a lot of development going on. There's a lot of renovations going on with the older homes, and people are actually making purchases and they're residing there in Las Vegas. California, same thing. I was in California just recently, scoping out the stuff. Willie, you know that I'm planning to go someplace warm, possibly the West Coast. We'll see. I got a nice tan. But Los Angeles, there's a lot of potential there. Santa Barbara, let me tell you, Santa Barbara has a lot of development going on. I see a lot of construction. There's a lot of commercial properties, residential properties that are up for sale, for lease, and so forth. So there's a lot of potential in the California market. And I can also say that for sure because I do have friends that are investors and they are all in the California area. So there you go. We basically spoke about the real estate market and trends, and that's what we have this far from William's observation.
And now our source subject, partly my source subject, partnerships.
Okay, so
and
now,
Michelle knows how I feel about this.
So now we're going to part 2 of this show, which is basically talking about partnerships, the good stuff and the bad stuff of partnerships. Our experiences in the past 2 years, 2.5 years.
Less than 2 years almost, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
It's kind of like dating or I would say like a job interview. You have to see if things gel well, but I think it's more like dating. You try it out, you see if it's working, and if it's working, it's a match made in heaven, and possibly get married by having some kind of contract signing and saying, hey, you guys are partner in a company. So where do we get started with this? You want to talk about the good stuff, or you want to talk about the bad stuff?
You know what? It's been more bad than good. Unfortunately, I have to say. I've been in, including my brother-in-law, that's one, at least 4 partnerships or joint ventures that all turned to crap. So I am... I don't want to shut myself out for partners or joint ventures, but believe me, I'm a little sour on it. If you think it's more than that, you're probably right. But you could talk, you could ask Michelle because I talked to her about it, and it's oof.
You could write a book about that.
Yeah, I could probably write a book about partnerships, and
you definitely have experience, and definitely could talk about that. But
I mean, listen, there's benefits. There are. Especially if there's one party that is not good at, let's say, negotiating, the other guy can do it, so that helps. So, there's all of us have weaknesses, and the other partner might have that as a strength. So that might work. But if you both the same, 9 out of 10 times it's not going to work.
You have to look for
That's in my opinion.
A few things that
pretty much opposite from you.
Yeah, well, there's a few things.
In certain things, yeah.
Yeah, there's a few things that you have to take into consideration when you're looking for a partnership in a business. One of them is, and I hear that a lot, is not to get involved with someone that is a friend of yours, but that can be 50-50. Sometimes it does work out. So. If you have someone that you know for a very long time and you trust that person and that person trusts you, sometimes it does work. But I've heard some disasters from people around me that they've had close friends. They thought that it was cool that, hey, I have a partner and this and this and this. And then things start to go downhill because the person is not pulling their weight, or they're...
And that's the key, is always pulling their weight.
Exactly. And then if it's not friends, sometimes this has to do with family. And the same thing. Family think, hey, we're cool.
I could be a witness to that with the family thing.
You got me. They're not gonna think. They're not gonna think twice about it. They're not gonna get upset. They're not gonna do this. They're not gonna do that. And that's wrong, because just because you're family, you have to take into consideration that you have a business together. You have to take in consideration that this is work. This is something that you have to put in order for it to go and strive. And at the end of the day, you want to get paid. So if that family member is not doing anything accordingly to help you out, and you're trying to help them out to move that company ahead, it's not worth it.
Yeah, I agree.
So sometimes, it's a 50-50. Some people have good experiences, some people have bad experiences.
Well, right now, for me, I'll say 30-70.
But
I mean, listen, it's like Michelle said, it's like dating and all that. But, like I said, for me, maybe I'm too trustworthy. With family.
Don't feel bad, Willie. I'm just listen.
No, I know. But I'm just saying it just sucks because, you're at that point where you think you could work together, and then somebody doesn't pull their weight, or someone stiffs you for certain, money or whatever, and you're like, whoa, what the hell is going on? So, like I said, ladies and gents, just make sure when you get into a partnership, you have a contract, you notarize it, and put in a contract that if, certain people don't do their assignments, you have a right to let them go. And that's it. I mean, this is business, not personal. And because eventually it's going to turn personal. So that's all I have to say on that for now. Let me just take 30 seconds to cool off.
No, listen, it's all good. It's all good. Listen, for me, I've never had a family member involved in any of my projects. It's nothing personal with them. It's just that they have a different mindset than I do. They're a little bit more reluctant, skeptical, a little bit more negative, and I don't need that type of energy around me. Willie knows Willie has known me now for 2.5 years now?
A little less than 2.5, about two years, yeah.
Yeah. So
yes, Michelle doesn't. It's rare if she talks to her parents about her business ventures.
My family in general. I just don't discuss it. I just.
Well, she told me that they weren't entrepreneurial like Michelle
No,
is.
but you know what?
I'm talking about your dad and your mom.
Yeah.
Not your your grandmother.
My extended family, they're all entrepreneurs. From my grandmother to my great grandmother to my grandfather. They were all true entrepreneurs. They like to have their own business and so forth. It skipped a generation. My parents are not into it. I'm into it. My brother, he's into it, but for him,
not as much as you though.
No, the thing is that he doesn't want to put the time or
the
energy and effort into it.
Yeah,
and it takes a lot of time and energy and effort to run a business. You have to take that in consideration when you're going into this.
Yeah.
So that's one factor, but for me, I had an experience that when I first started to get into real estate. I told you the story before in one of our other episodes where I had a broker. He was living ideally the American dream. He came from Greece. He was an attorney and a professor in Greece. He decided to move to New York and start over, and he got into real estate. He, worked his way up, became a broker. Then from a broker, he became an investor and so forth. And he says that he has all these millions of dollars transactions and stuff. And I'm not knocking him, I'm not questioning or whatever.
I was gonna say, is that true?
So here we go. So my experience with him. Basically, we were, we met through some kind of, I don't know if it was an online business thing or I don't remember, but we met, we started talking about everything but real estate, I knew that he was a real estate broker. He would tell me about certain things, but we really didn't get into detail about my experiences in real estate and how I went to real estate school and all of that, stuff. So going on into the process, time went by. We started talking again in regards to different things. He started talking to me about investing and stuff. And then I had a conversation with him in regards to investing, and I think I asked him about the cap rate and all of this, and he turned around and looked at me. He's like, "How do you know all of this stuff?" I says, "I do know about real estate."
I read,
No,
but I'm just saying for you. I'm just saying because to me that's like an insult. How do you know? I
think, and then that's where I kind of disclosed that I took real estate. I had a thing for real estate. I still even now still do. And he said, "Oh, okay. You're a people person. You know a lot of people. You're always talking to people. Why don't you get into real estate?" And this is when I was in the peak of going back to school because I was in college. Life happened. My mom had an accident. Other things just went down, and I had to put my college education on hold for a few years. And then I said, "You know what? I need to get back on." So I started to go back to school, took my classes and stuff, and I decided, because I graduated as a bachelor's in psychology, so I was pursuing something either in psychology or go back, and I was already getting older. I was already in my 30s. I might have been maybe 32 at the time or so. I don't remember. And I said, "You know what? Let me go and pursue becoming a physician assistant and pursue the program and so forth." And just for the heck of it, I decided to go take the entrance exam and everything. Got into a couple of schools, and I was ready to go for it. I actually went and took the thing for the MCAT for the medical school, and I got in there too, but I kept that quiet, and I said, "Okay, you know what, let me think about this. Let me see, do I really want to pursue the medical field, or do I want to go into becoming my own
your own boss,
being a business?"
Let me ask you something, because when we met, you had a partner.
Yes.
Because I wanted to talk, because we talk about my partnership, but I wanted to talk about your partnership. And it's funny because I saw that person on LinkedIn, and as a real estate agent, whatever, it was on a profile, but I didn't click on it. So I wanted to talk about, how did that work out? How did you guys start, and how did you guys end up going your separate ways?
Okay, this particular person that you're referring to is a she, correct?
Yes.
Okay. We met in a brokerage firm. So now fast forward.
Which one?
Russell Williams.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so now let's fast forward. This broker, he was doing a lot of shady stuff. And I started to see the pattern of what he was doing. He was overcharging for leases and saying that there's more square footage, and he was overcharging that. There were tenants that were complaining about him, and it was a lot of shady stuff. So I had to back away, and I said, "You know what? Nothing personal. I'm going to go and pursue another brokerage firm." And that's exactly what I did. So I walked away from it. But the thing is that I communicated that with him, and I let him know. See, that's one of the key components about having a business, that when things don't go accordingly, you have to communicate that, right, and not be in silence. And that's going to be a later discussion. So, this particular person, I met her through Russell Williams, and basically, we clicked after a couple of months, and she was the one that introduced me into real estate investing. She came to me one day and she said, "You know what, let's go and to a seminar, because I hear that there's certain things going on in real estate as a real estate investor." So then I said, "Okay, cool." So we went to this 3-day seminar, and we learned a few things here and there about it, and I was hooked on it. And she was also thinking of pursuing something in real estate investment, and said, "We can be partners and start getting into it." We started networking. That's how we met.
We met at a networking event. Yes, and that's important. As much as I might say that partnerships, I'm sour on them, but networking is very, very important. You could build your team that way.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you have to be on your team, but you have to. You can connect.
Joint
Exactly.
ventures,
Yes, exactly. So go ahead, because when you told me this about a year or two ago, I thought this was interesting.
Yeah, no, but we went to a lot of networking events. I connected with a lot of people. And, one of the things that I find interesting about myself is that I tend to do things, and then you have people that are gurus or people that are more experienced in that particular, like in business or marketing and stuff. And then they go and they give their expertise, they give their advice, and here I am doing the thing that they were already recommending to do. So then I must have the entrepreneurial spirit or business sense or some kind of business sense that, coincides with what they're advising. So anyway, we started going to networking events, we connecting with people and so forth. And, we were all excited about starting our business and stuff. And then all of a sudden she says, you know what, I need to take a step back. Things are going on and so forth. And one of the things that, and Willie can vouch for it, and other people that know me well enough, is I don't push people to do something they don't want to do. If you don't want to do it, hey, I'm not knocking you. I'm not doing, I'm not thinking ill will or negative of you or anything like that. Sometimes it's just not comfortable for those particular individuals. With her, she was very shy. She was very timid. She wasn't comfortable communicating with people, talking to people, even emailing. I suggested to her, I said, listen,
you told me that, yeah.
You don't want to do the face-to-face to talking. I don't mind doing it because I love talking to people. I like engaging with people. That's just my thing. Some people have it, some people don't.
And that's the thing, when you said that should have been perfect for her. You don't have to talk to anyone. Then send emails. Send 100 emails.
What do I say? What should I write? And I'm like,
now you were doing that for her too.
Say it from what and that was the thing. And then ironically enough, it was just I would say maybe 4 or 5 months ago I spoke to her last, and I asked, what's going on with you? Well, I'm trying to get back into real estate. I said, well, why don't you come and work with me, and everything else. And she was like, well, let me get back and get my feet wet with real estate as a real estate agent. And once I'm comfortable, if the door is still open for me, I will come and work with you guys and so forth. Mm-hmm. So to me, that was an excuse to say,
right?
I'm in my comfort zone. Again,
but you know what? Like with her, I kind of liked her. So to me, she could have done, let's say, my mailings. So here, I got 100 letters, send out 20 a week. That would have been perfect.
But that's just it.
No, I'm just saying, though, that would have been perfect.
My thing is that I see potential in people, and people don't see the potential in themselves.
She needs to hang out with people like us that are mine and our friend from bboxradio.com, Roxanne, and Six. Those people are like positive energy.
Shane.
Yeah.
Shane.
Yes, and Shane, yes.
Shane.
You got to listen to that episode on Work Your Money.
And Shane is planning to come back and talk about...
That guy got energy times 10. That guy is hyper squared. No, it's not a bad thing. But I'm just saying, we look at Roxanne.
Yeah.
And, I know Roxanne, when she sees me, she might kick me it's somewhere, but Roxanne is not shy. You know that.
No, but
she's buck wild, and she got the energy that it rubs off, and it's a good positive energy.
But that's what I love about people like that. I love to be around like-minded people, and I also like to be around people that maybe needs a little bit of a nudge because they don't see the potential in themselves. Maybe they don't have the confidence in themselves, but I see it and I try to help them out. Now, in that regards, let's talk about a recent incident that happened regarding this project that I was working on, and you were.
Oh Lord, yes, you have to talk about that.
Oh my God. Well, ladies and gentlemen, For some of you that do know me, I'm one of those people that likes to help out other people. I love helping out other people. I love talking to other people. And, that's just part of my nature. And, through networking and everything else, I basically got connected with this individual. And this individual, I guess we clicked right away because we had a lot of things in common.
Yeah.
And basically, through conversation, I found out this person does outstanding work in the organization and stuff like that.
So how did you guys end up partnering? Like who approached who?
Well, he approached me through LinkedIn.
No, I know that I know, but I'm talking about like who decided like, hey, let's try to work together on that project, on project A or B or whatever. How did that come about?
Well, the thing is that I approached him to be on our show.
Right, I remember that.
And through conversation, he said, I have an organization and this and that and whatever. And I said, okay, cool. And we were, for a while, I've been telling you that I wanted to work on some type of nonprofit, with veterans and women in domestic situations, getting them a safe haven, introducing them with training and stuff like that. So that was one of the things that I was working on for a while.
Right.
And I kind of, left it on the side, but I'm going to, come back to that eventually because I did make certain connections with people and I think that would be the place to go. So anyway, coming back to this topic, he was a little shy as well. And he was like, well, my thing is that I've had this organization for 7 years. And I started asking him questions, just to feel out, to see where the business is. Because one of the things that I love to do, and again, Willie can vouch for it, and too bad Marcus is not here to vouch for it, and other people that know me well enough, is when I see something and I look at it in a business sense, I always look to see what they can do to enhance their company. So I always give them some type of advice, or I try to help them out and everything else. I don't charge people for that. I don't try to, get some type of benefit or anything like that. I just truly like to help the person.
Right, you want to help them out and see, because you might have a little bit of knowledge in that genre, and you're lending your, let's say, for lack of a better word, expertise.
So basically, to make a long story short, we went back and forth about it, and I said, hey, you know what? And we had a discussion over the phone, and I said, how long have you had this? Well, I have this organization for 7 years. Have you done anything? No, I haven't. Have you received any donations? No, I haven't. Do you have anybody working with you? No, I don't. So it's just you? Yes. And I said, okay, so this is what, do you do social media? Do you go and market? What? No, none of that. So I said, okay, I can help you out. So I gave him a list of things to do. And he said, well, I don't have a pen and paper. Can you send me an email?
Oh, geez.
When I sent an email, then through email, he was on board. And I said, you know what? Because we were bouncing off ideas and stuff. And for a while, he was thinking of starting an education program, which I think he is, but he's not telling me about it, which is cool, whatever. And, I said, okay, cool. Would it be okay for me to be the administrator and I can be in charge of the program? The only thing I want from out of all of this is to be able to travel, because that's one of the things that
Michelle wants to travel a little bit more, and I don't blame her. I understand.
The thing is that I've always been so cooped up working locally that I don't have an opportunity to really travel. So that was one of the perks that I wanted to have. I don't want the money. Due to the fact it's a nonprofit, I wasn't asking for all of that. I just wanted to be able to travel. That was the agreement, and we even had a contract for it. So he went and he left. He went on his project for a month and a half. We were in touch. One of the things that I tried to help him out with was hooking him up with a documentary specialist, because of the fact that he does great job. I'm not going to lie. He does great job. and he tends to travel, it would have been interesting to be able to have that documented
of what he does.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the people he connects with and so forth and all of that. The person that I spoke to, I actually had 3 people that I spoke to, and they were all on board. But one particular person is a veteran. She's been doing this for 18 years. And I basically said to her, hey, I have this, and we had a phone call. She was on board and everything else. And here he is telling me, hey, yeah, cool, whatever. Every time that we try to talk, he was always busy. He was always in a meeting or something. It was some kind of excuse. So I just said, okay, maybe it's just that he's a little shy about trying to talk to her directly. So I was kind of like the middle person. So everything was established. He went to his project away for a month and a half. And here I am, doing things on making the connections, connecting people. People were, I had volunteer people, I had interns, I had all these people, even donations, and we were good to go. And then he said, you know what, I don't know if I want to pursue this type of lifestyle regarding documentary. I think I'm going to put it on hold. I'm not interested in that right now, and this and that and whatever. I said, okay. My whole thing was, why didn't you tell me this from the beginning? Then, have this person be on the sidelines thinking that we're ready to go. Right. Then the other thing that I kind of questioned was, here I am putting all this together, and, I'm one that I like to help people and try to see how I can help them expand. And I was doing a lot of things, connecting, and to this point, I still get emails and texts from people trying to find out what's going on with him and all of that. Now, do you think that after everything is said and done, now, I had a disagreement with him because of filming, ladies and gentlemen, because I was working on I am still working on this project where it involves filming for a show. And I said, okay, I can film this and discuss your organization. Why? Because it will be in the masses of the public. He said, cool, okay, let me know when you do that. I sure will. I spoke to a few people, and I was at an event speaking on his behalf for his organization, ironically enough. And I had to pull aside, we had a conference call. They were telling me about, how they wanted to film him because of the conversation that I had earlier about mentioning that and speaking about his cause. So they said, okay, cool, we can film him and just, follow around and see what's going on and everything else. And after everything, he tells me, well, I don't know if
That's how he talks?
No, not exactly. Not exactly. We need to put a little bit of a Latin accent here. But he says, well, because it's a through email now, because he was landing from one place to another or whatever. Right. And he tells me, well, I don't mind it and filming whatever, but I think the person is going to fall asleep filming me.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
Dude, do you think everything is going to be interesting? I mean, you're going around traveling, whenever you can, advocating about certain things, and and all we're trying to do is just capture the essence of what you're doing.
So, so was at the end, how did the partnership go, and how did it break?
It wasn't so much a partnership; it was more like I was working for him per se as the project director for the program. And I was just putting the elements together to put the company out there.
Right. So at this moment.
Well, the thing is that I explained to him, listen, I said to him at that moment, because I was frustrated, I said, come on now, like really, why can't you just tell me that if you don't want to do something, cool, I'll pull away. If you don't want to do something, right? Because you know how I am. Yeah. I like to be verbal with me, communicate with me, and he was just like, giving me I felt like it was an excuse. So my words at that moment, because I was frustrated, and you know how I am, I tend to say it at that moment. I call it out, And I said, whatever. I just don't care anymore. I don't care about the situation right now with this thing. You don't want to do it, fine, whatever.
He probably got offended.
He got
Excuse
offended.
me.
I apologize. He's still, he's giving me the silent treatment. I hear crickets, and that's all I get.
Right.
It was just one of those things where here I am, and like I said, people still talking about it. I even got someone to be a spokesperson for it, and again, Marcus was there when I made the phone call.
Marcus is our third partner, who's always MIA because he's supposed to be doing this podcast with us for about 6 months now. But anyway, that's another story.
So fast forward, and here I am. I would say three weeks later, still scratching my head, and I sit
For what
down
happened,
with
right?
him,
Yeah.
and he doesn't even want to. Even if he tells me, "Hey, you know what? I don't want to do this with you. This and that." Tell me, but don't try to.
He doesn't want to hurt your feelings.
No.
He thinks this is better by being silent. So.
What's really not cool is that the fact that I gave him props through a video.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And he just kind of dismissed it. And I said, okay, you know what? Now I know that you're just being petty about things, and it's all good. It's really it really is all good. And that's just a prime example that even myself, I've had my share of interesting experiences when I try to work with people. I think I'm more enthused when I get into something, and I put 110% into what I do. And regardless if I have other businesses or not, it doesn't affect what I do in partnership with the person that I'm working with in that deal or that project.
Right.
And
Well, it's a lesson learned.
It's a lesson learned, and he if he ever gets to listen to this, he knows who he is. I'm not going to disclose, who this person is, just like I'm not going to disclose the person that we spoke earlier that used to work with me. Nothing against anybody. I, don't have any ill will or negative thoughts. I'm always in the positive. So there you have it. These are just like experiences that we've had with trying to work with people. But does it stop me?
No.
Does it stop you?
No, it doesn't. I just move forward.
Yeah. So anyway, that's it. That's basically the second part of our show in regards to our partnerships.
Well, I definitely want to thank B-Box Radio, bboxradio.com, for the studio. And you can find us at facebook.com/work your money. You can find us at workyourmoney.net. And also you can find us on patreon.com, and just look for us and Work Your Money. We could always use a little donation to keep the show going. And Michelle, I think that's it for us.
Yes. Okay, guys, until the next time, this is the Work Your Money podcast.